Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Blizzard Watch podcast. I'm Matt. I'm hosting. With me this week are my fantabulous co-hosts, Liz Harper, the EIC and overall Grand High Poobah of the site. Yeah, I worked that in again. Hi. I also should let her say hello. I'm giving you time to say hello. There we go. Good. Also with us is Joe Perez, who is sort of the ombudsman, I guess. Yeah, he's kind of the ombudsman in the overall, the Scotty of the site, as it were, and definitely of this show.
I don't know about that. The podcast, yes. The site, not so much. They won't let me have access to the code. I don't know why.
Probably because they're terrified of what. But also with us,
we be Twilight Watch all the time.
Yes, yeah, of course. Also with us, Phil Ulrich, who has been pulled in 2 weeks in a row now, I think.
Woohoo!
That's me. I was on last week complaining about transmog, and I'll be on this week complaining about transmog slightly less.
Well,
we're going to get into that.
Yeah,
I said slightly less.
Last time on Blizzard Watch, Liz had some thoughts about transmog as it is currently appearing in the beta, and since then, things have been changed on the beta, and now we turn to Liz and then Phil as well to talk more about what those changes are and how it is slightly better now. Liz.
So last week we'd seen that in Midnight, I think the system is hands down better than what we have right now. It's a solid system that will let you set a transmog look, and it will stay that way even if you change gear. So your transmog is applied to the item slot, not the item. So you get a new pair of gloves, you put those gloves on, you do not look like a clown all of a sudden, which seems to happen mostly with shoulders. You put on a new pair of shoulders, sometimes, so this system, much better, but you have to buy outfit slots. And then you save your outfits to an outfit slot, and once you have bought the outfit slots, you can switch between them at no cost. Okay, great. Last week, buying all of the outfit slots would have cost you 800,000 gold. That's a very large amount of gold. There's a lot of zeros in that number. So Blizzard has since said that the prices for slots will not go up because they started at 100 gold on the beta, and they went up and up and up every one you bought. So that's not going to happen. Prices aren't going to increase. The outfit slots are also going to be unlocked warband wide. That was another thing that could have... Yeah, that could have substantially increased your cost if you had a couple of alts that you were playing and you wanted to have them to have some cool looks, or if you switched mains and all of a sudden, oh, this guy needs 20 slots of outfits unlocked. So
I think we suggested that on the podcast. So I say we take full credit for that. So
I am on board with this.
I think that's us.
You're welcome, everybody.
So. You're welcome.
Cut to a flashback of Phil coming in like Batman and holding a guy off a roof. What do you want? What do you want? Make the
account wide.
Totally solid change. One tiny problem that we did not talk about last week because I didn't realize it, which is the cost of changing a piece of gear. Like, let's say you save something to an outfit. And let's say you're making a new outfit, you're changing every single thing you own. The cost of doing that was 4 to 7 times more than it is in the live game right now. So if I took a character on the live servers, transmog every piece of gear, 1,000 gold. I take that same character, I copy it to the beta realms, transmog every piece of gear, 4,300 gold. If you get a level 90 pre-made, transmog every piece of gear, 7,500 gold. So you have this huge increase in cost of changing outfits. And the new system is going to be great and much less expensive for a lot of players who just want maybe set up a couple of outfits, and then it's free to switch between them. And you can also save outfits to different situations. So like you walk into your house, you put on your pajamas.
And it would always have that thing you pointed out earlier. If you get new gear, it doesn't change anything.
Yeah. So there's some big cost savings. Great. But at the same time, if you're a player who likes to change things up often, you say, oh, I got this new armor piece, I got this new chest piece, or these new shoulders, I want to change my entire look. I want to change every single piece of gear and come up with something new and creative. Then that's going to cost you 4 to 7 times the gold that it does on live. That's still It's not 800,000 gold up front, but it's still a substantial amount of gold. If you buy a new outfit slot and are setting up your new outfit, you pay that cost on top of the cost to unlock the outfit slot. So I can't tell you how many players fall into this boat, but I definitely fall into this boat where I'm constantly sort of tweaking a look or going from one extreme to a totally different extreme and just changing it up. And for me, that's a pretty substantial amount of money. Kind of hurts. So Blizzard has this week said that they're reducing the cost of changing item slots. So doing a full transmog change by 60%. That's great, but increasing the cost by over 400% and then reducing the cost by 60% is still a substantial jump. And we have seen in the beta that going from a level 80 character to a level 90 character, the cost of transmog almost doubles. So we have a significant cost jump, an even more significant cost jump between levels 80 and 90, and it's going to be cut down by 60% of what it is on the beta. But that's still a substantial increase from what it is now. And even though it's pretty normal for the cost of transmog to increase because it's tied to the cost of the items you have equipped, that's much bigger than usual. It's still going to be a lot more expensive to change things. And if you're a player like me who is changing things up, once a week, once every couple of weeks, just coming in with a new outfit, that's gonna add up. So the system is overall better. The changes Blizzard has made in the past week are very good. Decreasing it by 60%, decreasing the cost by 60%, still does not get us even close to the cost we're paying right now. It's still significantly higher, and that's disappointing.
I can understand the disappointment, but I mean, I think they said that their goal was to also maybe bring down the overall cost to unlock outfit slots to be reduced by 80%, which is significant. And then we got to factor in the fact that they are making it warbind wide. I hate saying that. Like, it is definitely significantly better. And honestly, like it depends on because this hasn't rolled out to the beta yet. So it's supposed to be in the upcoming build on December 3rd, I think is what they're targeting.
Probably.
So we'll know more on December 3rd what that actually looks like. But I mean, it is definitely a vast improvement. And you kind of also have to expect there to be like you said, there's going to be an increase in the gold you spend, because one of the other things that generally happens as you level up is your gold intake does increase slightly. We've had whole conversations about this in the past where, when you're not leveling and you're not getting higher level gear and those quests aren't scaling, then your goal kind of stagnates. But when you have extra levels to achieve, then you kind of get some. So we will know more once it goes live. And again, we will continue to submit feedback. And for all the players out there that have also submitted that feedback, keep doing so. Constructive feedback helps and makes changes. And this is a really good example of that, and a really good example of how that the beta should be working. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, these initial numbers, like, more than anything, almost seemed like an accident or a test that should never have gone even remotely live. So I'm not surprised that they changed it, but I definitely encourage people to keep submitting feedback, because a lot of this, don't get me wrong, yeah, the upfront cost last week sucked. There are so many cool possibilities for this. Like, I wasn't aware of all the different things that they've built into what they're calling the situations thing, which is what Liz described, where like you can change your outfit when you walk into your house. Or I didn't realize it extended so far as like if you get on a flying, it can do like if you get on a flying mount, or if you start swimming. If you're a Drakthir or a Worgen, you can have an outfit you put on just when you're in Drakthir or Worgen form. So Drakthir can finally have those perfect 3 pieces of armor showing. Yeah. Your belt and shoulders are set, baby. But like, yeah, I agree. I think they're tuning this. I do think though that increasing the prices by 400 to 700% and then lowering them by 60 is like they're having a Black Friday sale on transmogging. But
a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just glad that they went ahead and did do something about this, because otherwise, to steal a turn of phrase from site writer Nick, Liz was going to move on to the seventh stage of grief, vengeance, coming soon.
I did feel like over the past week I've reached the stage of acceptance. But yes, it's possible that the next stage
Keep
is
going.
in fact
Push through it.
vengeance.
However, though, we've talked a lot about transmog. At this point, I think we should move on to a non-controversial subject that's not going to take up much time to talk about at all. Player housing is next week, people, if you've pre-ordered.
Transmog for your house.
Yes.
So yes,
House Transmog that launches on December 2nd with patch 11.2.7.
My
That's
birthday
11
week,
numbers.
everyone. Literally, I'm born on December 7th, so it is the week. We don't know a lot, so let's talk about what we do and don't know. We don't know the house cost yet, right?
Well, I'm wondering about that because since the alpha launched, it's been 1,000 gold, but Blizzard, it felt like Blizzard was saying, oh, this is a placeholder cost. They've been really cagey about saying what it will actually cost. And now still in the beta, still right now, it's 1,000 gold. So I'm still wondering, is this the cost?
It
is
feels
it going to be
safe
more? Is it going to be
assume,
less?
But at the same time, we know what assuming does. So
yeah, maybe I'm the only one wondering this. But yes, I do. I kind of wonder because Blizzard really has been cagey about a lot of details on player housing.
okay. I do like this point. Like you actually asked this question: is the best way to prep for player housing is to go back to your garrison because you can use the garrison to collect herbs for dying, dying your house, not killing anyone,
Making die.
Yeah, you can.
I just
Making
feel like
colorful
dyes for
a lot of
furniture.
stuff in the game right now is going to suddenly become, this is for player housing. So go ahead and explain this one. Like it's basically just using the farm. Like when you farm up stuff.
I don't think Blizzard was intentionally trying to send us back to our garrisons, but there's some good reasons to dust off your garrison and head back there and make sure you have that level 3 herb garden. Because dyes in player housing, they're a consumable. You can use them to change the colors on most pieces of furniture. There are dozens of different colors to choose from, and different items may have 2 or 3 colors that you can customize. And of course, if you customize like one chair, but you want a dining table with 8 chairs around it, you've got to do that to each one using consumable dyes. Dyes are made by alchemists and inscription using herbs. One nice thing I think Blizzard has done is that the herbs, it's not that there's just, this is one herb that you need and it's a midnight herb. They've done it to where herbs throughout Azeroth can be used to make dyes. And so that means your characters at different levels, no matter what level content you're doing, no matter what you're doing, you can collect some of these materials to make dyes. Great. But it does seem like one of the most efficient ways to do it would be to go to your garrison, take every alt to their garrison, make sure you have that herb garden upgraded, pick every flower every day to build up your collection of Warlords of Draenor herbs, and you need 10 of any herb to turn it into a dye pigment, and then you turn the dye pigments into specifically colored dyes of your choice, because you're going to need a lot of dye if you have really specific color scheme requirements, or just if you want different pieces to match.
Dang you, Chartreuse. My Chartreuse hollow shall be complete. Anyway.
Well, the good news is getting the level 3 one is great for the alts that you actually played in Draenor who all had one. Level 2 garrison takes about 20 minutes to set up, which is cool. There's a lot of other reasons to go ahead and set one up as high as you can, though, on as many alts as you can, which is because a lot of these furnitures cost resources specific to that expansion. And garrison resources are the only ones that just kind of build up without you doing anything other than going back and picking them up every once in a while. But they're also not warband wide. So if you need 6, Shadow Moon Valley chairs that only come from the vendor inside your garrison, then you might want to have 6 Alliance garrisons that you can just drop in and pick up your resources every now and again. A lot of good reasons to do a lot of old content related to housing.
I mean, then there's the fact that lumber is warbound, right? It's like bound to
Yes.
the warband.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
but you can gather lumber not just at max level, right? Or am I wrong here?
You are correct. You can gather lumber at any level. You buy an item in your neighborhood that you click to be able to detect lumber in the world, and then you can just go. Yeah, you can't just walk up to a tree and say, that
Give me
looks
a
like
wood.
lumber.
See, that was really
You have
weird.
to-
Why are you talking to trees, man?
Walking up to a tree. Well, I know I was a lumberjack on Draenor, but I just don't know if I can turn this into wood.
What do I do? Why do you keep hitting it with the sword? I don't know. I saw a TikTok.
But that'll basically show lumber on your map just like it were herbs or in the world. And then you can farm for it. You can go out. There are a couple of problems with this in my mind that make it a little more difficult. So all housing decor, okay, almost all housing decor requires lumber, even if it's like something that does not seem like it would require lumber at all. Like,
why does this like bath require so much wood? I don't know.
like there's a plushie that tailors can make. Okay, why is this full of sticks? I don't know. It's supposed to be a plushie.
It's the best sawdust plushie ever.
Maybe so. Lumber is also, it's not just a lumber. It's not just, oh, I'm going to collect lumber. You are collecting different kinds of lumber that come from each expansion. Each expansion has its own type of lumber that is used to craft decor from that expansion. And if you go to decor in another expansion, you need a different kind of lumber. Now, every expansion except Midnight appears to have its own kind of lumber that is required to craft decor. And when you go and you're like, oh, here's tree, okay, lumber, I'm going to get a piece. It's like you cut down a tree, you get one lumber. One. This tree created a single lumber.
You are the worst lumberjack ever. I'm sorry. Look, it's the stick.
And housing decor, if you're crafting housing decor, you need large quantities of lumber. Huge quantities of lumber. I mean, you may be spending, some items may cost as little as like 10, but some larger items might cost 60 lumber.
Are we sure the expansion after Midnight isn't going to just be everyone in the world coming together to stop us from cutting down all the trees?
Just imagine the forests that we are absolutely going to destroy collecting this much lumber because you can use it to make cool things. It's like people do like plushies or fireplaces or meditation pools. You're going to have to cut down so many trees.
In retrospect,
so many.
The wooden fireplace, not our best idea.
Yeah, they're calling it the Last Titan because there won't be anything left on Azeroth except the World Soul after we've strip mined it for furniture parts.
So yes, and it is warbound, which that's okay. You can trade it between your alts, but what if there's something that I can't craft for myself? I'm like, okay, here is a crafter I know. Let me give you these 60 lumber. And it's like, no, you can't do that. You can't. Of course,
I would guess you can probably use it in work orders the same way you can do with Artisan's Acuity now, which is also warbound.
There are no work orders for these items because they are not soulbound when you make them. You can put them on the auction house, but the crafters will have to go and collect these massive quantities of lumber on their own. You cannot sell them or buy them or trade them. So I think that's going to be a real point that's going to really slow down the crafting of decor because you're cutting down trees, you get one lumber at a time. You have to get lumber from every expansion. And of course, the other thing is you have to level up crafting from every expansion because there are crafting recipes at every expansion level. And they aren't at like one crafting. They're usually at like 60 Cataclysm and Pandaria are 60 crafting. Shadowlands is 90. Dragon Isles is 80. So it's not just the lowest crafting level. You have to level up some significant amount to be able to get crafting with these things. So yes, you've got to do a lot of profession leveling. You're going to have to get a ton of lumber. You're going to be raising forests all on your own. So
I'm telling you right now, I just realized my player housing is maybe going to look cool on the outside, but inside it's going to be empty walls and a box.
There is a lot of decor that you can just go and buy, and you will be able. All of this decor, it's going to be up on the auction house. People are going to be putting it on the auction house. I imagine the prices are going to be out of this world because of the number of materials they need.
Okay, but since you've mentioned that, I want to move on to this faction vendors thing, because apparently you say here it's going to cost a wide range of currencies. So please explain that to people so they don't get disappointed when they get there.
So there are vendors across the world, all over Azeroth, that will sell you faction stuff. Usually most reputations, just all of those random little vendors throughout the world. Usually if there's a faction you've had to grind up reputation with, they'll have some decor that you can buy for certain reputation levels. Awesome decor everywhere. But if it's an expansion specific piece of decor, it's usually going to require some expansion-specific resources to buy. You can't just buy all of this stuff with gold. Order resources from Legion, war resources from Battle for Azeroth, resonance crystals from the War Within, garrison supplies from Warlords, Dragon Isle supplies from Dragonflight, honor, community coupons, which come from the housing endeavors, Apexis Crystals. Remember Apexis Crystals? Do you remember Apexis Crystals?
Oh my god, I just mentioned them the other day.
We did.
Joe, didn't you?
Yeah, we did.
Talked about that on Lore Watch. Now
Can't wait
to
to collect 5,764 of them again for a couch.
They're gonna be relevant again. Ancient mana from Legion. All of these different currencies. And this is not intended to be a comprehensive list of the things you will need, but you can expect if something is from a specific expansion that had expansion-specific currencies, there's a very good chance you will need some of that expansion-specific currency to buy the item. And some of these have a currency cost in addition to gold. So it's like you might need to have 500 war resources, but also 300 gold. So I think the costs are going to require a lot of farming for currency and also a pretty significant amount of gold, especially because if you want to put 2 chairs in your house, you need to own 2 chairs. You can't just buy a chair and put 10 chairs in your house.
This is the part that gets me, though, is the price doesn't even seem remotely related to how many you would want. Like, it's not like this costs a small amount of currency. We have a picture and a post about this on Blizzard Watch where you can buy a sheaf of dried corn to hang on your wall. Mm-hmm. It's 4 things of dried corn hung together. It costs 500 resources from Legion. Those are from an expansion where world quests give you about 50. So that's 10. Think of it as 10 world quests and 300 gold for every corn you want to hang in your house.
But do you want a bushel of corn? Then it's 500 resources, 300 gold for each small sheaf of corn. It's a lot. It's significant.
Like I've been looking through some of the housing databases that are set up because I've been interested in setting up buying a bunch of Zandalari stuff because I am our guild's biggest troll stan to decorate both the inside and outside of my house, and every piece is 400 war resources for every piece that I want. So I'm gonna be like rents because a lot of these also aren't warbound, so you can't just transfer them all to one spot and go, well, okay, I've got this many, so I'm gonna have to ransack my alt's pockets.
I will say, if you have one alt that has a lot, you can go and buy a bunch of these, and your collection, your decor collection, is shared between your whole warband. So
there is that at least, but I mean, if I've got 400 here and 300 here and 600 here, they've been making good progress during the War Within on making some things account wide. If they're going to give us the world tour for housing, I would really love to see more of these become account-wide by midnight. That's just my suggestion. You've already got the Warbound account outfit slots, Blizzard, so take this one from me. More Warbound currencies.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, here's hoping, because some of this stuff is
Or-
really cool.
Or you could just make it to where we don't need a copy for each one we want to put in our house. Like, we could just buy one, and then we could put 20 of these sheets. We could line our walls with hanging corn. Just the whole thing. Turn it into corn wallpaper.
I don't think that'll
why
happen unless Hearthsteel falls through as a concept. So
So yeah, that's a thing.
Hey, I do want to make sure we mention the giveaway.
Yes, we are giving away a Midnight Epic Edition key for. We're going to do a random drawing, and you've got to go to our social media accounts because those are thing we have. We're doing this giveaway on Blue Sky and on Mastodon. Woohoo! And if you go to those sites, and we have a pinned post at the top of our profiles asking you to enter, we just want an answer to one question. Our Azerothian realtor has been working overtime selling houses, which you've seen if you follow us on social media. And which player housing plot should she visit for a vacation? Wrong answers only. So tell us those great, horrible vacation spots you have seen in neighborhoods. On Blue Sky, you can find us at blizzardwatch.com. That is our account. Just go and send it an answer. On Mastodon, you can find us as BlizzardWatch on gamepad.club. Just go and find this tweet, reply to it, and give us an answer. On Monday, I'm going to do a random drawing, and everyone who's entered has a chance to win a Midnight Epic Edition key, and that will let you get into housing early access next week on Tuesday. So please send us your answers, and maybe you'll win.
Maybe you will. And even if you don't win, you help us so we can help you. I don't know why I said it like that. I sound like a lunatic.
It does help us if you follow us on social media, because you can help share our content. You can read our articles. You can see what we're doing more easily. So that does help us out. And you might win a Midnight Epic Edition key.
All right. Now moving on a little bit from player housing and transmog, because other things actually exist in World of Warcraft. I was shocked too. Quite honestly, I'm not sure I believe it, but we'll see what's happening. On December 2nd, which will be in a few days, we're gonna have Turbulent Time Waves coming on back, so you can just run time walking, just run it forever. So much time walking, which is it's gonna be going all the way into February, because it goes for weeks.
That's a lot of weeks. That's a lot of weeks of time walking.
So that's coming up. Also, the new trading post. We're not going to talk too much about it, because sometimes we end up sitting here and just going over every item, and I am guilty more than anyone else. So I'm going to try rigid discipline for myself and not say anything other than it's cool, like visually cool, as in looks like coolness. It's got a kind of winter theme going on.
Winter, lots of blues. I like this one.
Yeah. So go check out that. There's also
I do want to ask about Trading Post. What is everyone's favorite thing in this month's Trading Post? Matt, one thing.
You limited me to one. He's paralyzed with choice.
His brain has blue screen.
You broke him, Liz.
Oh, did I hit the wrong button? No, I was saying the mount. I'm sorry. I hit the wrong button. No, the mount right away.
No, there's two.
Yeah, but the one that's like a fox wolf.
Yeah, the fox is cool.
The fox is nice. Yes.
Really? I've
got the Lothian Prowler, but I don't have the one that in Legion that was the blue mount that I guess you bought or something.
I think it was a store mount.
I didn't have that one. So this one is looking real tempting to me, because it's the same basic model, but it's got a different color scheme, and it's got much more gray to it. It looks like a storm cloud type thing. It's beautiful. I love that mount. And I love pushing the right button. So you can actually, everyone's like, hey, blue screen. And I'm like, no, I'm hitting the wrong button. I got so many things to say.
Joe, do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be the moose. Like, let's just be honest.
As our resident Duskar shaman, of course, you would pick the moose.
Well, it's not even just that. I'm basically, I'm
moose.
Canadian. I'm Canadian light. Also, yes, it's just a sick colorway for the moose. I really, really like it.
It is a
actually.
nice colored moose. I already have the other moose, but
So do
this
I,
one's
but this
still
will
worth
replace
picking
it.
up. I won't
This
replace
was-
it,
I
but it will
a
definitely
moose for
me,
every season, Matt. A moose for
I'm not
every
arguing.
season.
If
It
you've
has
got
so
the
many little
ghost moose
cool
and
details,
you've got the
too.
green moose, now you've got the winter moose. Now what we need is a summer moose, which should just be a moose with flaming antlers.
That would probably be the one that you could get for ahead of the curve on Emerald Nightmare, the black and red moose.
See, I think it needs to
Nah,
be the black and red moose, but it has to have the velvet like peeling from the antlers and be a full horror show.
Perfect.
Yep.
Phil, what is your one thing?
I was going to say the moose because it has so many cool details, but I'm actually going to instead go with the Noble's Winter Collection ensemble, which is the one that has like the furry blue hood and like the Blizzard's favorite, the pants that are actually kind of a long coat bottom. It's just a really nice colorway. I can already think of a lot of things I would do with this, so that'll probably be a early pickup for me.
Indeed. I've got to go for this month's pet, which is Bundled Up Bob. It is a tiny seal wearing a fur hat that appears to have wooden antlers coming off of it. It is heckin' adorable.
He also has a sweater.
Yeah, he's all dressed up for winter. I wasn't aware that seals
God, he's so
needed to
cute.
dress up for winter, but he's dressed up for winter, and he has huge, giant eyes, and that's, the eye to head ratio. That's what makes something adorable. This little guy's got it. And also his name is Bundled Up Bob. That's just hilarious. I love it.
I love the little moose horns on his hat.
I wish his name would have been Daryl. And then every time they release a model of him, it's just another one named Daryl.
Yeah, the other Daryl.
Larry, Daryl, and my other brother Daryl.
Yes, exactly.
I thought it was Daryl and my other brother Daryl.
No, it's Larry.
Larry Daryl and
Larry Daryl and my
Larry
other. Okay.
I must make sure that we get this right.
We must have our Bob Newhart trivia here right for all our fellow old.
Listen, the ghost of Bob Newhart would not let me, I would have to return my, Northeastern Canadian Junior card if I got that wrong.
It's true. Pretty sure there's
Actually,
several states you get banned from for getting a Bob Newhart fact wrong if you're from New England.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, no, it's a really cool little collection of transmog stuff. So now for something that'll be a little disappointing for you if you don't jump right on it, because Pilgrim's Bounty's got these cosmetic backpacks, but the holiday's gonna basically be the weekend, and that's it.
You have the holiday weekend of US Thanksgiving essentially to go grab it, which is not nothing.
Yeah, but as we're recording,
well,
that's not happened yet. But by the time people listen to this,
they have
it
a
will
limited
have
amount
started
of time.
yesterday.
Yeah,
they better hurry.
It's I always get upset about Diablo 4 having those really short events that are like 1 week, and if you happen to be busy with that 1 week, sorry, you just can't do that event. Pilgrim's Bounty, okay, it's not my favorite event. It's not a very exciting event, but it really is very short. It only lasts around a week, and it's a holiday week in the US. So, that can be a really hard one to get. Maybe so, but it's pretty short this year. So
yeah, but these are cool.
So you only have until the 30th of November to get these things. They're cool little cosmetic backpacks that are stuffed with food, because obviously there's like a baguette sticking out of it. Who wouldn't want that?
And like a turkey leg on the other side. I love it.
Listen, as somebody who literally bought baguettes because he was sad, I support baguettes.
That's fair.
Now I'm forced to remember the baguette fights when I was in college, and we went to Nice to Nice. So
and of course, the November trading post also, you can buy baguettes that are weapons again if you're fast and get it before December rolls around.
Yeah, so you got about a week to do all this for your Thanksgiving themed mayhem.
December is next week. It's blowing my mind. December is right here.
No, it can't be right. That sounds fake. No,
December of 2024, of course. No, 2025.
December 2016. What year is this?
While we're mentioning stuff that you're going to have limited amount of time on, it's also your last week to get the Violet Sweatsuit from Twitch. It's a Twitch drop, and in order to get it, you must watch Twitch. I mean, you got to watch WoW on Twitch, right?
Yeah, you have to watch WoW on Twitch. I believe it is 4 hours of streaming on Twitch. So it's not hard, but you just You don't have much time to put in the time. And if you wait until the last minute,
Yeah, you're going to be
you
like
might
up at 2
get-
o'clock in the morning going, I just got to find more WoW. So yeah, don't
or
do
you're
that.
going to get, or if you get like 5 minutes away from getting it and the promotion ends, you don't get it. Of course, maybe purple isn't your color. I don't know.
But then you
But
won't
if you want to
have
get it,
you just won't have it
yeah.
in case you ever need it. I mean, come on,
just in
guys.
case you need something purple. So if you want it, you got to get it.
I love this. Listen, I love the sweatsuits. As a matter of fact, I got the orange one, and all of my characters that I'm playing currently in WoW are transmogged into it because it's amazing. I'm a huge fan of this. Like our last raid, I showed up to it in full orange tracksuit with the big white slippers from the BlizzCon onesie outfit that you could get.
So you were the annoying cousin from that one GTA game?
100%, except fiery hair and a female dwarf. So yeah.
Okay, well, still.
So I was not really into the sweatsuits until I learned that in transmog you could have a different look for doing, like you could have a specific look for going inside your house, and then I'm like, oh yeah, whenever I walk into my house, I'm just gonna put on the comfy pajamas. Then done, we got it.
Yeah, my indoor outfit's just going to be my outdoor outfit with no shoes.
That also makes a lot of sense, except for the
like-
fact that feet in World of Warcraft, they kind of all look weird. Kind of really all of them.
They super do.
Okay, now that we've had to think about that and possible sites that would be exploiting it, WoW Classic, everybody. The anniversary's got free realm transfers up because if you're trying to get to a different realm before it converts to the TBC Classic next year, TBC Classic Anniversary will not have a hardcore realm. So current hardcore players have to choose whether they want to go and do Classic era hardcore or continue on to TBC as a non-hardcore character. So you've got that, but you can make the transfer and decide for yourself what you want to do. That's currently available. You can currently go do that.
Yes.
And I recommend it if you feel like you want to make that switch.
It's available through January 12th, I believe. So right until just before realms roll over to TBC Classic. Yep. After they've rolled over, you do not have a choice. If you hit that TBC Classic launch, it will automatically roll you to Burning Crusade Classic, unless you have chosen. Yeah, not hardcore. Unless you have chosen to transfer to another realm. Like any character can make a transfer, not just hardcore characters. But like if you just want to stay in a classic era, you can transfer to classic era realms. No big deal. But if you don't make a choice, you're automatically going to roll over into Burning Crusade Classic when it launches next year. And the pre-patch goes live January 13th.
Yeah, specifically if you're on a classic anniversary realm. Or is that...
Yes. This is only for... Yeah, I should have clarified that. This is only for the classic anniversary realms. If you want to stay on hardcore, you would be transferring to a non-anniversary realm, just a standard hardcore classic realm. And if you want to stay in classic, not go on to Burning Crusade, you would transfer to a standard classic era realm, which is frozen forever in Vanilla WoW.
All right, so that's worth knowing about that. Next, this is actually some Diablo news, and it's asked in the form of a question. I'm going to answer the question before we talk about it because I have an answer. There's a new Diablo 4 comic coming out, but is it really coming out or is it just doomed to be canceled like the last one? And the answer is, it is doomed. I refuse to believe it until I read the thing. And even then, I probably won't believe it. But I remember, very, very strongly, I remember they had that WoW comic, the Diablo comic, that was about Lilith, and then suddenly it just went away and didn't happen. And I think at that point, I even wrote a post on the site about how this basically tells us who the main villain of Diablo 4 is going to be. And everyone thought I was insane. Not for that, just because of the shoes on my head and wearing cheese. No, because of that. And so when I went to BlizzCon 2019 and they did the big trailer and there she was, I might have screamed, I was right. And nobody heard me because nobody could hear anything. But yeah, I do not believe this comic is going to come out until I see the thing.
Also, it had some real big talent in it, didn't it?
Marv Wolfman.
I forget who was...
Marv Wolfman. Marv Crisis on Infinite Earths Wolfman, Marv Teen Titans, New Teen Titans, Marv Wolfman, Million Avengers Comics, Marv Wolfman, Marv Wolfman. Sorry, I don't mean to scream Marv Wolfman that many times. But regardless, yeah, I want this to happen. I will not say otherwise. I absolutely want this to happen, especially since it's Cullen Dunn and I cannot read the other name, but just Cullen Dunn right there.
Danielle Sarah.
Okay, also good.
Is the illustrator.
Very also good. Yeah, no, I want this to happen. I absolutely want it to happen, especially since it looks an awful lot like a barbarian on the cover. I want this to happen, but I don't believe it until the second it comes out on February 11th, 2026, and I actually have a copy of it, I will then believe it. Until that time, I will not.
So it is called Dawn of Hatred, and that's really all we know about it, except it comes out
a follow-up
on
to Vessel of Hatred. So it's kind of like,
I mean, presumably it's gonna be some sort of prequel or tie-in to the next expansion. But I am assuming that, and that's a dangerous thing to do. So, we will see.
Joe, Phil, either of you want to say anything about this before we move on?
No, I'm good.
Nope, this doesn't exist. It's fine.
Next up, Diablo 3 Season 37 is starting on December 5th. Honestly, I'll admit this. I've been playing Diablo 3 again, just keeping it quiet because I don't expect me to know anything about it because I'm not paying attention. I just get on my barbarian and smash thing. But I will say this. I haven't seen the Forbidden Archives in a while. I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. Like I know I'll make a new character. I know I'll play it, but this is not one that I have strong feelings. So if anyone else does.
I thought Season of the Forbidden Archives is really fun because it's Kanai's Cube-orama. You can put anything in your Kanai's Cube. I just enjoyed the way you could make all of these sort of non-traditional combinations because Kanai's Cube is super powerful in Diablo 3, giving you these extra powers that you would usually not be able to get. If we had this in Diablo 4, it'd probably be less impactful because you can already change up all of your gear and put all sorts of different powers in it and do all sorts of different unique combinations. But in Diablo 3, it feels really impactful to be able to switch up your powers and make different kinds of builds. These are the kinds of seasons that I usually enjoy the most, where you can change things up and you have some customization of how you change things up, and it really changes the way you play. Which sometimes this will, sometimes
how
it won't.
It works in
but
that.
oh,
the
maybe
way it works
so.
is that the way it works is that Kanai's Cube ordinarily has restrictions on each slot. Like you can only use this item from this slot, and so on and so forth. You can only use one. You can only use them in certain ways. These categories are ignored on this season. So instead, you could instead of going with one power from a weapon, one power from armor, and one power from jewelry, you can now just do anything. You could have 3 weapon powers. You could have an armor power, a weapon power, and another armor power. So you could just do 3 amulets. If you just want to be invulnerable to everything, like, so you don't have to do that thing where it's, oh God, it's, those blue laser beams and stuff on the ground and lightning bolts. You could just make yourself immune to all 3 and just wander around through everything, not dying. I'm not saying that's what I did, but I'm saying you could do that. And so, yeah, it is cool. It's just not one that I have the current character I'm playing is actually relatively low level. I started over again because that's me. I just start over every time. So it'll come down to what you get because, it's a season character. You're going to start with nothing and you'll head up to max level and you'll get legendaries as you go. So for a while, you'll be working with whatever you get, but that could be cool. I definitely like the idea of the amulet powers. I've never made a secret of that one. Regardless, it's coming soon. What's the time? It's December 5th.
December 5th. Yeah.
So yeah, on 2 days before my birthday, the day after other stuff happens. So yeah, cool. And then of course we've got BlizzCon tickets are still on sale. I keep forgetting
BlizzCon's ticket. They are doing BlizzCon 2026 in September 2026. Tickets went on sale last week, but you can still get a ticket if you so desire. At least as of the time of this recording, tickets have we have no clues on how fast they're moving. We have no idea if there's one ticket left or if there are 100,000 tickets left. I assume there aren't 100,000 tickets left. But so all I have to say is that if you want one, go check if they're still available when you hear this, and do it now, because we don't know when they're going to sell out. But they've been on sale for a week now, so it feels safe. But as soon as I say that,
Yeah, who knows?
I don't actually know. Who
Well, they
knows how
already
many
sold
are on
out.
sale in total?
They sold out the early bird passes already, right?
Yes, all of the early bird passes are long gone, and also the charity dinner passes and the Dark Moon Fair extended hours passes are gone. Those all went away when tickets were in early access sales about a month ago. Oh, a while ago. It was a little while. So, yeah, but if you want a ticket, if you want to go to BlizzCon 2026, you should go on and buy one. You still have a chance, probably.
All right. Ordinarily, Liz does the site news, but Liz has been talking a lot today. Liz, do
We
you
can
want to
move
appoint
on.
someone else to do it? I mean,
Oh.
because I don't want you to not get it out at all. Because
Well, friends, I'm going to go ahead and thank you to all of our
Joe!
supporters out there and remind you that this site is only made possible due to your generous contribution at patreon.com/blizzardwatch. Support there is a little low right now. We're around $3,300. We want to have that a little bit higher so that we can maintain the site integrity. So if you can consider donating, go ahead and do so. It gives you a lot of benefits. First of all, subscribing, you can get early access to all of our podcasts and the content that we make. It gives you ads-free site experience on the website itself. It gives you a special channel in which you can submit questions to us, which those are very important to us, folks. And as a reminder, you can also support us by sending us questions. You can hit those at podcast@blizzardwatch.com, specify the show that it is for in the subject line, as well as any special pronunciation of your name. And if you are on Discord, we have the Q and Podcast question channel open for everybody. But if you are that Patreon subscriber, you can go ahead and hit us up on the Patreon Q and Podcast questions channel. That's yours. That's your special place to go and communicate with us. And we do pay attention to it first as a way of saying thank you. You can also send us messages on Patreon. Liz will get them to us. She literally just did that today. So we have included that. So thank you very much for those that did submit that. But just as a reminder, we also have several other podcasts besides this one. We have our Lore Watch, where we talk about not just the lore of Blizzard games, primarily the lore of Blizzard games, but we talk about everything else. We will have off topics that include some of your favorite media, and we love answering your questions about that stuff. So if you have a burning question, you want to know what Matt and I think about something specific, like who would win in a fight between the Hulk and the Thing, ask that question. We will not be put out by this at all. And also, as a reminder,
I'm right now restraining myself to not talk about it.
See, look, I'm getting, this is free real estate. Let's go. Also, I want to make sure that you all know that we are on various forms of social media. On Instagram, we are Blizzard Watch, Twitter, Facebook, and Mastodon. We're also Blizzard Watch at gamepad.club. We are blizzardwatch.com on Blue Sky, Blizzard Watch podcast on YouTube, at blizzard.watch on TikTok. And yeah, you should follow us for the latest news, and especially to find out what weird things will get clipped from the podcasts and then released into the wild. Matt and I, on various podcasts, and sometimes Phil and Liz, say some really randomly unhinged things out of context that are great. And you don't want to miss those.
And no one knows what's going to be a clip. I don't tell any of these guys.
It's true.
No one knows. It's a mystery.
And then one last reminder, I do want to say that with the expansion coming up, with Midnight coming up relatively soon, it's a great time to kind of brush up on your Warcraft lore and books and history. We actually do have a book guide on the website. So if you go to blizzardwatch.com/warcraft-books, you can actually get a guide to stories and what books you should read, and potentially where to start and prep yourself for the incoming content. Because boy, is it going to be lore heavy, and you don't want. I mean, you can also just listen to our podcast and get some of that information that way, or do both. You should do both. Absolutely. But yeah, hopefully you enjoy what we do here, and we thank you for your continued support and allowing us to hopefully brighten your day. I think I did okay on that one.
You did great. Thank you, Joe, and thank you to Liz for talking so much today. That's our fault, but you did a great job. So now we have one little last thing to talk about, and about 7 minutes, I'm pretty sure we can go more than that, is other games, and it's the Indie Game Awards. We're going to have Game Awards.
Yep.
Will indie games be at the Game Awards? Claire Obscura. We talked about it a little bit last week, but this week we've got the fact that the Golden Joystick Awards basically just went straight for Claire Obscura, which, like I said at the beginning of last week, not a surprise to anyone. I think the only surprise was the game itself when it first came out, because it was made by a group of 30 people, and it's an enormous runaway hit.
It also
ahead,
started.
Joe.
It also started a really interesting conversation about game award categories, and I think it's something that we haven't really talked about because the term indie game is a very wide umbrella. It's a very wide paintbrush to brush with, and there's starting to be questions of should there be subdivision within indie games at when you start talking about the Game Awards. Like, should you have this game was developed by a single person, which not always can compete with a game that's made by 30 people. They're both still indie games, but one has considerably more resources available to it. So, and this is not saying one is better than the other, but it started me thinking, and maybe this is a thing we can touch on real quick or have a brief discussion about, is when you're judging an indie game, do you consider that when you look at a game and say, oh, this is, too simple? Are you considering that it was made by one person? Or are you looking at it and saying this is great and not really paying attention to the fact that it was made by a team of 50 people? So I don't know. What do you guys feel?
I tend to talk a lot when I talk, so I'm going to wait for other people to talk about this one before I come in.
We'll start with Phil.
I don't usually think about that kind of thing because a lot of the times I don't really know it, but it's not until you see something like these lists of independent games of the year, or best indie game or whatever, and you've got Hollow Knight Silk Song. Team Cherry is what? 2 people? 3 people?
Three
Tops?
people, but they had a bunch of independent contractors.
Yeah, exactly. Or Ball X Pit, which is one guy, and then Devolver Digital helped with publishing, versus Claire Obscure. Until I see lists like this, I kind of tend to write the whole, what really constitutes indie discussion off, because it feels like trying to talk about music subgenres. But then, I see this and I'm like, should this game that had a full team of 30 people and looks and feels like a AAA game, except it's not from a AAA company, should this be up against Blueprints and Absolem for an award? And it's just I don't really know. I feel better about the one where, for example, it's up against Dispatch, which is a Ad Hoc Studio is, yes, they're new. Yes, they almost went under in the process of making Dispatch, but this is a group of experienced developers who have made games before, who have specifically made this type of game before. Having Dispatch go up against Claire Obscure.
Ad Hoc also has about 40 employees, though.
Exactly. See, that feels like they're in the same weight class. To use boxing terms, these aren't the featherweights. These are the lightweights. We moved up one. I don't know, but then those two on debut indie are up against Blueprints and Despelote, which they feel this really feels like putting a lightweight up against a featherweight. It doesn't sound like anything until you see him swinging in the ring. I don't know. I think it's an interesting discussion, but on the other hand, I also don't know how much of it applies except outside of award shows.
Yeah.
And also how much weight people really give to the Keeleys. I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna kick Liz here real quick and see.
Let somebody else talk for a bit.
What you think about it, because I think it's an interesting discussion.
I think the Golden Joystick Awards happened at the end of November, late November. So you already saw Claire Obscure really do a pretty significant sweep of the awards. It got Best Soundtrack, Best Storytelling, Best Visual Design, Ultimate Game of the Year. It won 2, I think both of the acting awards for a couple of its performances. I don't have the list right in front of me, but it took both of them. And so it's an indie game, and it's frankly punching beyond its weight class, because this isn't just indie awards. It beat out the mainstream games to get Game of the Years at the Golden Joystick Awards. So, and you look at the Indie Game Awards, which are it's all focused on indie games, but you do have things like Blueprints. Single developer game. He did have some other people helping him with things like sound, but you get something like Blueprints that is up against things like Clair Obscur, which has a larger development team. I think it's going to be really interesting to see the Indie Game Awards and see, is kind of a mid-sized studio, a slightly larger studio, going to sweep the awards. Not at all that this is not a good game. This is clearly a killer game that a lot of people have loved, and certainly a lot of love and work went into producing it. But yeah, it's like, how do you fairly pit things against each other? I don't know. And at the Game Awards itself, you have the real question: could Clair Obscur win Game of the Year and also Indie Game of the Year? That'd be a little crazy, but it's possible.
Yeah, I think, and I'll let Matt go here in a second, but I just kind of want to toss my head in the ring as well. I do think we're at a point where so many games are being developed on the indie, like under the indie banner, because AAA is collapsing. It's falling under its own weight. We all knew it was going to happen at some point. They're not going away completely, but we're definitely at the part where the large animals are starting to get cannibalized a little bit. But then you look at some of these games that, like, I think there needs to be a stratification or a weight class system at this point, where like some pretty obvious cutoffs, because like Ad Hoc and the Clair Obscur team are really good examples of like, that's still independent, but it's a larger team. And then you look at games that they absolutely honk, but had really, really small teams like Celeste or Undertale. Did you know, I mean, Cuphead, the team at MDHR was 14 people, still larger than 3, but a lot less than 50. Disco Elysium, Sea of Stars, Axiom Verge, Spelunky, Cave Story, Super Meat Boy. A lot of these games that are like, we absolutely adore and hold like these huge candles to, are really small dev teams below double digits in many of these cases. And then you have Clair Obscur, which is a really good game, right? It's not, I'm not going to say anything bad about that part of it, but it was made with a larger team. You're going to get wildly different products, and it's like trying to compare an apple to an orange in my, whereas having like, you know, best indie game with 10 or less devs or something like, or small, you know, indie 1.0 or indie 2.0. And maybe it gets us back into the whole AAA versus AA versus single A mindset. But I do think there needs to be some form of distinction between them, because I think it's the only way to make it fair. And then I'll turn it over to Matt, see what he's thinking.
I think there's a lot of different aspects to this. The first is that I don't think that Clair Obscur winning for lead performer and also for lead like best support. In the case of those are both two very well known.
Sure.
Jennifer English has been in a million things. She was Shadowheart in Baldur's Gate 3. I keep going to say 4. And Ben Starr has been around forever. So that's not necessarily the studio.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You know, that's just a different thing. But in terms of like what makes an indie, is anyone going to say that Hades or Hades 2 weren't indie games? No. But Supergiant Games has like 25 people working there. Now, that's smaller than some other studios. It's smaller than Clair Obscur.
But it's still roughly in the same weight class as Clair Obscur at 25,
it's
right?
Still it's still roughly in the same weight class. And the weird thing is, one game that I want to talk about real briefly on this subject, because it's an example of how this kind of gets skewed by certain people. Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
For the majority of its existence was one guy. And now it's like 3 guys. And like I say guys, I don't know the genders of the people involved other than, the original one. Stardew Valley is a juggernaut. It is the only reason it doesn't keep getting nominated was because, technically speaking, they've never done an actual expansion. Like, they've expanded the game. The game has been expanded, but it's just Stardew Valley. It's never been anything else. There's never been a chance to nominate it again. But if Stardew Valley was up for something, it very well would win, just because the sheer impact that it has had in a quiet way. And that's one person versus the amount of people that work on Hades 2. The fact that both Hades 2 and Hollow Knight Silksong came out this year and didn't win because they lost to Claire Obscura. That's kind of astonishing, because this is a battle of titans now, but they're tiny titans. Like Joe talked about how AAA is cannibalizing itself. What's really happening here is that what was previously considered the volatile and unreliable AA space is now being colonized by studios that come up from an independent standpoint, but are now big enough that they don't swim in the same waters as games with like 2 or 3 or even just one person working on them. And that's not a fault of anybody involved in those studios. It's not a fault of the one person working for 8 years to get blueprints out. And it's not the fault of the studio that has 30 to 40 people working on Claire Obscura, which was another labor of love. It's just got more moving parts. And it requires either more people or more time. And in some cases, more people is just a more economically viable move. Sometimes you don't have 8 years to make your game. And I do think that there should possibly be, in fact, I'll just say it. I think there should be a differentiation between, like, 3 of us got together in a basement and decided to make this, or, Undertale is the obvious Undertale. And then I can never remember the second one that's got the same name, but anagrammed.
Deltarune.
Deltarune, yeah. Undertale and Deltarune are very clearly one person's obsession.
Not anymore, actually.
Yeah.
Undertale was coded solely by Toby Fox, but Deltarune actually has a team.
Yeah, but is that team the vision, or is that team just executing them? I think that's also something you have to keep in mind when you're talking about this. In the end, when somebody goes from it's just me to it's me, but now I have these people helping me because I simply cannot do all this work, which I think is the case both in Deltarune and in Stardew Valley. That's still pretty independent. You don't want to tell that guy that he's like forced to be in the category with, like, again, Claire Obscura, which has, 40 people. Or heck, Spiders, which is putting out Greedfall 2 and had put out previously Greedfall. They're too big to really feel fair going up against, blueprints, but they're not big. But they are like an 80-person team. But they are independent, but there's 80 people there. You can't, but they're certainly not AAA. It gets to the point where you're like, I feel like at this point we kind of need to stop using indie as the sole defining trait. But that's going to require us to actually sit down and really think about what, do you want to tell the people at Spiders that they're just as big as Ubisoft? No, that's ridiculous.
I mean, you could still have like indie weight classes. Yeah.
I think, but you'd also end up with, which I think people are going to have to get used to, the fact that some companies are going to end up called heavyweights of the indie scene.
But I mean, we already do that, though.
Can you tell Supergiant that they're not heavyweight, even though they're only 25 people?
But that's the thing. We already do that.
Yeah, we already do it, but we don't do it on award shows. Do we need to even care? Are award shows that important? For the survival of certain studios, yeah.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think it is for certain studios, like those badges. Some of those are investor, like tokens.
Supergiant. Supergiant doesn't have to prove nothing.
Not now, but they did when they were making Bastion.
Absolutely,
and I remember winning what they won that first award at PAX East when they debuted the demo for it was massive for their success.
Well, they only had 7 people then.
Yeah. Yeah, they sure did.
I definitely think there is a role for being a little bit more granulated in how we do this.
Stratification.
Yeah, but I also think that we do need to realize to a certain degree, Claire Obscura winning, I feel like in a different period of time, it would have been Hades 2, or it would have been Silksong, or it would have been somebody else. And now those games didn't win, but does that make them not great? No. It would be ridiculous to say this game isn't good. It didn't win. So what if it didn't win? It's still an amazing game. Silksong came out like a beast, and a lot of people loved it. So keep it in mind. But a lot of times for these awards, they're important to get smaller or independent groups going, and that's important. That's and I'm done. So go ahead, Liz. I heard you talk.
The only reason we're having this conversation is because there are so many absolutely incredible indie games.
Oh yeah.
And we're seeing indie games that in the Golden Joystick, you had an indie game as Game of the Year going up against all of the big guys. That is how good indie gaming has gotten, that we can have these conversations about, like, well, is a game that had such team as Clair Obscur, can you put that against a small single developer game? But like, it's a good thing we're having this conversation because it is an expression of how successful the indie game market is and how I feel like gamers are hungry for things that are different, things that are unique. And that's exactly what you don't get from AAA studios, because they want to put out games that are guaranteed successes, which means you see a lot of things following proven successful formulas. You see a lot of sequels because those are seen as the safe bets. And it's the indie space that is doing all sorts of weird and wonderful and different things. Not every indie game's for you. Clair Obscur isn't a game for me, but I recognize that it's still a great game.
Yeah, I mean, also let's be fair on another level. At this point, it feels an awful lot like the indie space has been left alone from corporate oversight to the point where they've had to pick up the slack of all the games that corporations are not allowing to exist. Like, to the point where we just saw, I think, like last week, the Riot MMO got bought by the original people who worked on the development of it, and they're now putting it out themselves. And we're getting to the point where corporations can't even, if there's something new they come up with, they can't get it out. They don't have the wherewithal anymore, and the independent game studios are kind of taking up the slack. It's essentially, like I said, it's a new double A coming out of the ashes of the double A that got destroyed by corporate greed or corporate existence. That's something I'm thinking about. Anyone else before we go?
Indie games are great.
Yes,
Play more indie games.
And they're giving you what you will not get from corporations anymore.
And that does sound a little weird considering we're here talking about Blizzard Entertainment, which is a massive gaming behemoth and World of Warcraft.
Owned by an even bigger massive corporation.
Yes. But man, it's indie games where we're seeing all of the interesting, weird, and delightful stuff. And I say that even as like my current off Warcraft game is the Outer Worlds, which is another Microsoft game. But indie games, weird and wonderful. And it'll be interesting to see what the Indie Game Awards do next month and what the Game Awards themselves do. That's December 11th, the Game Awards, and we will see. We will see. Can an indie game upset the big game companies?
I would not be surprised with this one, I'll tell you that.
But that'll be interesting because maybe that's a wake-up call for the major game companies to say, oh, these guys are doing something different, something unique. Maybe we shouldn't just make a new Call of Duty game every year. Maybe we can do... I would like to think that.
They're not going to do that.
Except the new Call of Duty game does numbers still, so...
Not only that, now people are like, it's actually good this time, whatever.
Did you see like some other blows that are happening in the game industry? Like, we got to end, but I just want to throw that out. Like, I guess
someday
WWE has pulled their licensing from 2K Games and is going to like the new THQ. Interestingly enough, like people IP holders.
How long has 2K had that license?
Since THQ went under, because THQ Nordic used to be the sole proprietor or the sole game developer for it, which is also arguably the heyday of those games. But the people who hold IPs are also starting now to take a look at those companies and are reevaluating their relationship. You are just as likely to see, an IP holder, that doesn't have a game division, looking at you, Disney, because you got rid of yours, turn around and go, we're taking this IP from you and giving it to like this slightly smaller, more independent, company, because they're going to make the game we want. So like, we're starting to see that already.
All I'm hearing from Joe is Kingdoms of Amalur 2 is coming out soon.
God, I hope so.
I do have one more thing to say specifically about the Game Awards. Game of the Year is the only thing Clair Obscur won't win because Jeff Keighley's best friend Hideo Kojima is up for one with Death Stranding 2 on the beach. So congrats in advance to Death Stranding 2 for winning Game of the Year at the Game Awards.
I'll be booing, but regardless. Not that I didn't like Death Stranding or Death Stranding 2.
I can't boo it too bad. Like I like Death Stranding, but it's just very funny how much
It certainly is.
It's a whole thing. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not getting into my personal feelings about Jeff Keighley.
Guys, thank you so much for being here with us. We're going to get out of here if it kills us. This has been the Blizzard Watch podcast. Thank you to Joe, Liz, and Phil for, so many things, but especially thank you to them for making this a podcast worth listening to. Thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been the podcast, and we'll be back next week.